right, y'all, welcome back. We are so excited to continue our conversation about trusting yourself, learning how to hear your intuition, and then what to do with it. Alex brings a long history of training from different practices. So I won't even ruin the surprise with that and let her share her story, how she got to be where she is, and how she helps folks.
Hi, everyone. So lovely to meet you, and how amazing it is that there's a community that's actually interested in this. That's just something that lightens my day up. So, my name's Alex, and I live in Denmark. So, right now it's 5 p.m., and my day is almost over. And I just love that these new technologies can bring us all closer together. So, today I'm 36 years old. When I was 21, I lost my father, and 2 years before that, I had just lost my first boyfriend in an accident, and my father died from cancer. So I was 21 years old, totally overwhelmed by tragedy of life, right? And something mystical happened. So the first thing that happened to me was a lot of physical pain. Like I got a lot of pain on my body, and I got really sick as well. Uh, and in the West, in Denmark especially, everything is following the biological logical reason. So they would look for diseases. And so I was diagnosed with IBS syndrome, chronic inflammation from mouth to the end of the whole intestinal system, and fibromyalgia. And at that time, I was 21 years old. I was studying to become an occupational therapist myself. I was believing everything I was told because I was in that schooling system, right? And so I believed I'm going to be sick for the rest of my life. I cannot eat thousands of things and it will never change. I have to live with it. Luckily, I had a past. So this was the tragedy, right? But I also had another, can we say, a resource. And whenever something bad happens in our life, I do believe that in our subconscious, we try to look for like, what can I do? Or we try to look for that like empowerment, right? Like something to survive. And in my past, I have been a kayaker. So, like in the kayak. Yeah. I was totally in love with that and I was very good at it. So I was an athlete before this. And so when I was an athlete, I learned to persevere, like go forward and go through the pain. And it helped me at a certain point to kind of kick through the adrenaline of fear and also be like, maybe I'm scared, maybe I have pain, but I have to find a way. So I was studying in university and I was like on crutches some days, but I wanted to go through it. I was in a lot of therapy because I lost my father and my boyfriend. So I got the help I needed. But at the same time, I had this feeling like I don't want to have pain forever. No one wants that. So I was seeking. And so the first thing I found was not intuition because I was actually not spiritual at all, but I did find something called explain pain therapy. And they introduced me to the concept that there's something else than the body that exists. And so this is, your mindset, your emotions, trauma. And then everything changed for me. And then I went into this method. I became a pain therapist because I thought that's the way for me to learn. It's just doing it. I went in, and after 2 days of schooling in the university in pain therapy, I was pain free. I'm sitting and listening to PowerPoints and reading in the book because the book was explaining the brain is making the pain from what happened to you. So in that moment, my brain was like, okay, so nothing's wrong in my body. It's coming from the past, and the past doesn't exist. And so then the therapy is changing all of that. So I went through that, and then I went into all this physical training, and I healed myself. And after I healed myself, I was very curious to like, how is this possible? I started doing yoga. I went on teacher trainings in yoga. I got really curious because all of a sudden my whole life changed. And I found a lot of good things and I also found a lot of things that doesn't work. Right? But the things that I found, our body keeps our trauma in its fascia, it's called, like in the tissue and in the nervous system. It's not only in the brain. So even though the pain disappeared, It would come back if I was stressed, or I would get like these physical symptoms. And I found out there must be some reason that I'm always scared. And I had to go through all like figuring out all my childhood trauma stuff. And I had been in therapy, but that didn't help me. It helped me to release it from the body. And so, yeah, I don't know if you want to.
Still, honestly, my brain is trying to process that a PowerPoint helped you be pain free.
Yeah,
Because
I can say
usually,
more about
like,
it. Yeah, yeah, it's really funny. I wasn't the only one. We were in that room, 20 people. We were listening to this PowerPoint. And so it's called explain pain therapy because when the brain understands what's actually happening, it stops to produce the hormones, the pain signals, and then the body stops to produce the inflammation. And it happens quickly. Just as quickly as you got the pain, you can release the pain. And it's actually with any long-term pain. So it's not with an acute, like if you break a bone, it doesn't work. It can work in the sense that you are not scared. But with long-term pain, there are other mechanisms that happen. And when you understand them, your brain literally stops to make it. That's the therapy. So that's how. And that is a whole thing to understand. It took me maybe 6 months. Then I went into to deeply understand it. But in that moment, I guess my brain just accepted that it was true. Then it came slowly back after a few months. And then I would just continue, with the method, understanding my pain, moving my body slowly. And as someone who has been an athlete and lost her function, there was an identity shift in that. So it was just amazing to get my function back, right? And like I can just go to the gym again. And that's also why I chose yoga, because it's more calm and I hadn't moved for a long time. So just coming back to feeling safe with movement was a big thing for me at the time. But it was really the shift was the deep understanding of pain, the pain mechanism itself. Because the rule is in this therapy form that the brain cannot protect something it is safe with. So if you think about it, pain, what would you say pain is? Like physical pain.
it's an annoyance.
It's annoying. Yes. Why
Constant.
and why does the brain do it? Like why do we have it? Like what would be
So that you can constantly be reminded of it to fix it. Like, don't
exactly.
forget about that broken leg. We need to get that rectified.
Yeah. So what we call it's protection. It's like watch out. If you don't have it, so like people that don't feel pain, they have a brain deficiency, they die before they're 6 years old. It's protecting us. It's like, don't put your hand on the candle, don't scratch until there is a hole. Like it's a protection. But then with trauma, this can get mixed up in the brain. And so then it can make pain places where there is no problem.
So it's not even like you need a trigger for this. It's just steady hanging out there like, hey, we're homies. We're just going to hang out here in your brain forever.
Yeah, it's kind of like you can think about the trigger. The trigger can come from a sound, environment change, something's cold. It can come from an experience. It can come from a shock. It can come from a lift, a wrong lift, and an idea that's why I have back pain. It can come from these ideas, and then the brain believes I have to protect her to never lift anything again. So every time you lift something small, you get a pain because that's what the brain is protecting you from not doing, even though there's no injury. So it's all happening it's like communication from between the brain and the body, but it is the brain that is controlling. Yeah. And then the safer we get, the safer the brain is. And then it actually is really funny. This was really the thing for me. I was like, what? So the brain is inside of water. This water is painkillers. So the water itself holds, I don't remember what it's called, but like a fluid. And this toxin fluid, if we drink it, it's like taking 6 ibuprofen. That means when the brain is not safe, like let's say something happens or like a shock or something, you get what is called a dry brain. So it takes some of the water in because it's like, I'm not safe. So all of this water comes from the spinal fluid, comes in and it goes into the brain. And then the brain can feel much more like all these informations coming from the body. This is going on down here. Like you're saying, it's annoying, right? And then the brain is maybe deciding, oh, I should give her pain there so she doesn't move the arm. And then once the brain is safe, it will release the fluid. The problem is still there, but you're not feeling it. So painkillers, it's just triggering that which we already have it inside our own head. And learning that, I was like, I want that. So I didn't have any restrictions to believing in this. I just wanted to believe it. Some of my clients, it can take maybe 2 or 3 sessions before they are pain free because they have restrictions. But with people that don't have restrictions, they can just listen to a podcast and then the pain goes away
So
because the brain decides I'm safe.
so restrictions mean like that you've put on yourself, allowing yourself to believe this. Okay.
Yeah. So you are like, no, that's not true. Then it doesn't work. So it's really about changing your belief system.
Love this. So how have you taken this knowledge to your current life? And how do you use it to kind of help others? How do you implement it?
Yeah. So for a long time, I would be working with people with chronic pain and mainly people with like very complex problems. But then over time, because I also became a yoga teacher, I figured out I would like to make a yoga style that can help a group of people. So I designed sentences and embodied experiences because it's also part of our therapy, where you breathe in a certain way, where you calm the brain down as you are thinking that you're safe. And then the pain starts to release and the brain gets more safe. So I put it into the way I teach yoga. And then later I became a Qigong teacher and then I put it into that. So I kind of mixed it in there. And when people have a complex problem, then they'll book me for a one session and then they'll get these like movement classes or group sessions with me combined with that right now. So
And so how long, like, kind of what's the average? And I realize it depends on the person and their their willingness to not be skeptical, we'll say. Kind of what is an average typical journey like for you and one of your
yeah,
clients?
so most my clients, let's say it's in a one experience, they will get some exercises and some homework. Then they'll go do that. Then we'll have 2 sessions. And after the second session, they will be all pain free or 70% less pain after second session. Yeah.
I mean, part of me wants to be like, why are we not doing this all around? And then the birdie comes in money. Doctors want to get paid, the pharmaceutical companies want to get paid. If we take away that revenue and come back to something just so simple, our bodies are built to survive. And so not trusting that your body has that to me is like the first sign, like, okay, I need to at least be open minded to this. My body was built to survive. So let me trust that it has some survival safeties built in. Just kind of as you just so well articulated, kind of how the brain has this little painkiller around and how it that says, "Oh no, don't climb that tree again. Last time you broke your leg." So I can kind of see that narrative playing. And then kind of what do you do like for folks that don't live near you? Are you able to work with them like through
Yeah,
Zoom or
yeah.
something like that?
I mostly work with Zoom. So that's how I mostly work. When there's a complex problem, we'll need to take some time to do things online. So I have to be able to watch their knee and, sometimes I even had the husband help because there's certain things. But then and it always works out and I always find a way to do it all with an elastic. Like there are some technical things with physical movement where I need to be creative when it's online, but it always works because the focus is the brain. And then with the movement, the safety comes over time. And I do also have this like online program that I call Yoga for Pain. And then they can, go through that where it's like, okay, pain in the shoulders, you do the pain in the lower back, you do the so they go like through that process. And I do it once a year live. So people can do it with me every year and people love it. They're like, And then I also do the teaching with the PowerPoint. So they also learn and I ask questions. And then they become pain free or like this is actually evidence based. So it's not something woo woo at all. It's not intuition. It's not I can send you a link for this podcast. There's a guy, his name is Mosley. He's a scientist in neurology. He's the one who founded this in Australia. And he was bitten by a snake and almost died. He was a neurologist already. Then he woke up. 2 weeks later, he walked the same place where he had gotten bitten. And then he passed out from a scratch, not a snake bite. And he realized his brain made the scratch. So he's the one who found out how the pain science actually work. So this is not, it is coming into physical therapy, occupational therapy. Like it is coming, it's just coming very slow.
See that. And I can kind of imagine why. And I'm hoping that there's some ladies listening who have gotten a diagnosis like lupus or multiple sclerosis, who their body is saying, this isn't right. This isn't the diagnosis for me. This is not my forever. Kind of like how you had with yours. And thinking there's got to be a way. And, I think we go to chiropractic and we go to massage and we might go to dry needling. And I mean, I think there's some things that are kind of on the surface that are socially accepted outside of just, pharmaceuticals, but this just really resonated when I heard your story. It really resonated with me because it's so simple and basic, and that's usually what works. And it kind of just aligns with, you know, I've heard a lady talk about how she has phantom leg syndrome from losing her leg. And when I heard your story, I could kind of hear the alignments between phantom legs. So have you worked with people? Do you see an alignment with that, with your practice?
Yeah, definitely. Like, so it is also part of this therapy. There are some of my colleagues that only work with that. And it does work, but they do need a combination of medicine as well. It's a more complex situation, but it is the same idea. The brain is still protecting the limb that it cannot see. And it's totally the same. And you can heal the pain, reprogramming the subconscious mind. You can do it. It's just more complex. They use mirrors,
Okay.
the brain.
I can see that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and they do the same with if someone have had like when they're paralyzed and they have pain, they use mirrors and it also works. They do different kind of tests. It's so much fun. Like it's so interesting what the brain can do if it's taught the right things. And I just think in our society, this is also very complex. And maybe it's not for everyone, but for the ones that are really interested to deeply heal and have the understanding, this is like straightforward. But not everyone will have the time. It is a longer time therapy than just go get the needle, go home, longer.
Much like a drive-through society. Like we want to just pull up,
But
get out, and get what we need and move on. But, the idea, the allure of this is not being on medication forever, not being in pain forever, not missing out on family events or travel being difficult because you have a medication that has to be refrigerated or, kind of whatever. It's nice to know that there is something to try at least. I always say I'll try something. If I don't go to the hospital or prison, I may try it. I may try it twice. So I mean, there's really no, you're not gonna be in a worse place
no,
by trying that. It's not gonna, negate your current, treatment plan. It's not gonna make your other leg fall off. It's not, and so kind of what do you have to lose? Is why if someone's kind of feeling like they wanna give it a go and look for you online, where can they find you?
yeah, so I would just have them look me up on Instagram and then reach out to me. And then what I'll normally do is just have a free session because with this, it's very complex. I'll need to know the complexity of all the things are connected basically. And then sometimes I'll say, okay, I can really help. This is straightforward. Or I'll even send them to one of my colleagues working online who is in something more specific. So it would depend what the problem is. Like I tend to work a lot with lower back pain, shoulder pain, migraines, complex, anything with eating disorders because it's what I went through. But I have colleagues that work much more with very complex diseases. We are a big group here in Denmark, and there are groups in all over the world. So I tend to find the right therapist for people and have the talk with them. Mostly, it also helps them to meet me because they're like, "How is it possible? Like, you don't hear this story, right? Like, telling you, I was so sick. I couldn't go to concerts. I couldn't go down to the grocery store. Like, and I was 21 years old. And they just told me to live with it. Now I'm like, now when I go to the hospital, they still think I have the diagnosis. I'm like, no, dude, look at me.
Yeah.
I know. Because they don't know better, the doctors. They haven't had the education to know that it exists. But I do hope that, because I know the new doctors get the new books about pain. So I do hope that in the future, we'll at least know more about pain. But
It
it's
is such a big topic because you get pain from so many different things. And then opioids are such a big topic here in the US, and not getting on opioids and not getting on pain medication that can be addictive and that can require long term use. So I can really see how this can be an effective and safe alternative, or if people who are like in recovery who are I've saw a lot of folks kind of come on, and they talk about how they went through years of pain because they were afraid to take pain pills because of their sobriety or where they were in their recovery. And so to sit here and think like that we could have helped that you could have helped them not have that pain for so long. It's so nice to know, when you know better you do better. And we'll put all your contact info in the show notes. So y'all, if you're at home and your low back is hurting, or you like me, as soon as she was talking, I was like, my shoulders are good. Uh, and you want to reach out, then you can connect with Alex and kind of figure out your next steps. But we like to bring stories of hope, so you're not just destined like she was to this diagnosis at 21 years old that you have to deal with it. There's another way if you're willing to accept it and be open minded about it. Alex, what do you want to leave our listeners with today?
to leave you with, when you feel this really dark feeling, like you feel like nothing's going to change, and you feel kind of like a victim, and something heavy, it's allowed to choose another way inside. The way out is actually choosing the good feeling. It's just buried very deep. And I remember this was what changed for me. It was not listening to the voices, not listening to what I was seeing, but listening only to what I call love. We can call it intuition, call it what you want, but it's not the noise. Listen to that. And I was like deciding inside, it's no longer a problem. Like, I will fix it. It's gone. And it's okay to choose that. Because when you are sick, you feel it's impossible, but it's never impossible, which is why I always say love always wins. So choosing love, it always wins.
That I can't think of a better way to end this. Well, thank y'all for listening. I hope that Alex's story, not only of her personal recovery, but how she helps bring her clients through recovery, will be a beacon of hope for you, that you don't have to live forever with whatever you might be dealing with medically. At least give it a try. We'll put her contact info in the show notes so you can reach out directly. But thank you so much, Alex.
You're welcome.